Claire Corral disappeared on a Wednesday. A Tuesday night, actually, but Dad and I didn't hear about it until the Wednesday. I can't say I was alarmed. Surprised, perhaps, but there seemed to be a perfectly feasible explanation. And I was very busy at the time, eating iced Vovos and getting divorced. Divorce is arduous, because you have to get out of bed each day, which in itself takes a monumental effort, but you have to, because your father's mind is failing and he needs you. You look in the mirror and wish you hadn't, then you zip up your regular person face and stroll out into the world. You go to work and hope no one asks you how you are because you might not be able to stop yourself from answering truthfully. Then you go home and you make dinner and you choose to be thankful for what you have, even while your father calls you by someone else's name, and you don't correct him because you hate to see that wounded confusion in his eyes. Some people talk about feeling numb for those first few months, and I do think, if your heart was pulverised with a potato masher by the one person you were certain would never do that, and if you were staring down a future without anything like a real human connection, numb might be the best you could hope for. It's not a bad word for how I was feeling. Looking back, I'm surprised I managed to pay any attention at all when a woman in my neighbourhood upped and vanished. Perhaps I sensed, somewhere beneath my cauterised exterior, that this was the first in a chain of events that would radically upend my life and bring me face to face with a dark and violent death. But I don't remember feeling much of anything at the time. I was wearing my regular person face and trying not to have a breakdown. So, a typical Wednesday night. I'd arrived home from work with Vietnamese takeaway, Dad's favourite. As kids, my sister and I couldn't stand the stuff, and he'd say we didn't know what we were missing, that Vietnamese was one of the most intricate and nuanced cuisines on earth, and we'd look at him with our clueless eyes and ask for chicken nuggets. I came around to it as an adult. So did Minnie, and we even got into pretty regular Vietnamese meals with Dad on a Friday night, especially after Mum passed away. It always seemed to cheer him up, though I think what really cheered him was being there with his kids. But he didn't want to keep saying that over and over, so he just kept on praising the food. Then Minnie got married and had her own kids, and the demise of our Friday night ritual was very much compensated for by the fact that there were two brand new little girls in our lives, one of them with Mum's eyes and the other with her nose. And soon they'd be old enough to hate Vietnamese food just like we did. And that, as a prospect, was supremely exciting to a family of dorks like mine. I was in the kitchen pulling the plastic wrap off Dad's fur while he sat on the back patio watching the sunset, his corn silk hair fluttering in the breeze. He reached up to scratch his neck, and I noticed for the first time a small archipelago of bruises along his wrist and forearm. He was over 80 and bruised easily, but these looked nastier than the usual, and I was thinking I ought to ask him about them when I heard the yowl of the side gate and a metallic crash and a yelp of surprise. Nell from number 35 was always tripping over something. She lived 4 doors down and survived on 2 things: what money she'd been able to save in her 20 years as a midwife, and drama. Drama was to her what cookies were to the Cookie Monster. I suspected this to be why Nell couldn't take 3 steps in any direction without encountering some minor calamity, and I rushed to the back door in case Dad didn't recognise her and things got awkward. "Bonjour," she sang. Her slightly bedraggled hair hung down to her shoulders, and her cherubic features shone at the sight of us. I was relieved when Dad sang out, "What ho, Nellie?" Dad was a high school English teacher for 51 years, so it's no surprise he still unloaded the odd Shakespearean greeting. Heaven forbid anyone in this neighbourhood should use a simple "g'day."